Kia ora, everyone. I've got the t-shirt on as well, by the way, Callum.
Oh, awesome. Looks
Bloody,
great.
bloody outstanding. I saw Sammy Holland got hers today. She was pretty stoked on that. She had a good day. She got a rangefinder that she won and an NZDA t-shirt and sticker. Mate, for those that don't know who you are or weren't along at the Tar Jam to hear you talk up there in Auckland, who's Callum Sheridan today, man?
Callum Sheridan is, I've been the president of the Auckland branch for the past 3 years, or in my third year now, sorry. This year I've just joined the national committee for the NZDA, which is sort of a bit of a step up from club level, which is awesome. We've got a good group of people this year. I'm a builder by trade, obsessed with hunting and fishing. And yeah, there we go. That's it.
Bloody good. How did the obsession start? You know, it's pretty easy to keep it on in New Zealand, but how did it start for you?
It would have started. I started with fly fishing. I was actually listening to one of your last podcasts with the referee. Was it Mike?
Yeah, Mike Lash. Yeah,
Lash. Yeah. And that had a lot of similarities about it. But yeah, so the first thing I did in the outdoors was fishing in down the central North Island. My old man was right into his fly fishing down there, so we would head down there whenever we got the chance to fish up the back of Turangi there. Yeah, that sort of I was a bit of a late bloomer with the hunting. Sort of the old man's not really into it, but I sort of picked it up when I was about 21.
Yeah.
And took it from there, yeah. But you know, the fly fishing sort of you're there in the back country doing it, and you know, deer or a pig would wander out. It never does now. But you know, when you don't have a gun, you don't know what you're doing. They're everywhere. So that got me sort of I suppose obsessed with the outdoors. Yeah.
Yeah, and so at 21, what sort of got you picking up a rifle or taking a rifle and leaving the rods at home?
I was just sort of interested in hunting, and I was around at a family friend's place one evening after work, and he said, "Oh, why don't you join the local NZDA?" And I just had no idea what they were or who they were, and I went along to the Auckland branch, and at the time, the president, John Shepherd, he was the president there for 9 years. It turns out he was my rugby coach from about under 13s, you know, so I knew him quite well. It was under 13s to under 21s he coached us for. So, yeah.
Who'd you play for?
I played for Suburbs,
Yeah.
West Auckland.
Yeah.
And then I sort of, a bit later on, played a bit of league and sort of a bit of under 85s rugby, but got sick of going to work with broken fingers and broken this and that, you know. So sort of had to make the realization I wasn't going to be an All Black and focus on what was actually going to make some money.
Yeah, although you can hardly blame
wasn't very good either.
You can hardly blame some of those under 85 fellas for keeping it on, because geez, they look like they're having a hell of a time. Especially I'm being an ex-varsity lad, I'm a keen follower of the Squids, and those boys, yep. They know how to do both things, play well and play hard. That's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. You know, I didn't really fill out till I was about 27. You know, and then once you fill out, you put on the weight, and you can't. Then I couldn't make under 85s anymore, so I was like, oh, it's just getting all a bit too hard.
Yeah.
No, it was good. I was sort of more there for the social side of it and the fitness, of course. But yeah.
Yeah, and you bring up a good topic. You've got no excuses in your club with Mike. What's his last name? Chasing Together.
Oh yeah,
Mr. Mike.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's it.
When you've had a long week and he shows up to the club, how do you sort of feel inside?
Oh yeah, no, he's a pretty fit sort of a cat, isn't he? So, he's a good bloke to have in the club. You know, he's come and done a talk there, and he's at most of the club nights, so the members can sort of learn a lot from him as well, just by having a chat in the back of the club.
Yeah.
Mate,
now you said you've been president in Auckland for 3 years, and that was shortly after I went to Australia, and that was pretty with the first round of sort of tar culling going on and what you guys were producing from your Instagram page, it was one of the things that really got me inspired to, when I get back to New Zealand, no matter where I am, not only get along and join an NZDA, but get involved in, people like Mike, Jolene and Brian and Courtney, Alan. There's a number of people that I've met through the Auckland DA's Instagram page, and now good friends with. Like, when you think about Auckland as a city and this little hub, you guys are based in Point Chev, is that right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, and then you guys got a range as well, eh?
We've got a range up Riverhead Forest, that's open on Saturdays and Sundays. So yeah, it's a working forest, so we can't sort of have it open 24/7, unfortunately.
Yeah. So what was sort of the mission for you guys then to sort of, I guess, stand up Big Counter and what turned out to be lead the country in terms of NZDAs and in terms of promotion?
I suppose it's just about bringing it into the 21st century. Like the NZDA, it was great. It's been around since 1939. The Auckland branch, I think, is 51. It was about just making it more attractive to younger members. When I first walked in there, I would have been the youngest by about 20 years, and there wasn't a female in sight. Now we've got a lot of women joining, a lot of younger people joining, which is just great. Before it, I suppose, like the guys that were there before did a great job, but it just wasn't sort of at the forefront of their minds to be working with social media and the different platforms we've got these days to be able to introduce new people to hunting. So the drive behind it was really like, we've got such a great thing going on here, like we need to make the most out of it. I've been on the committee there for about 7 years now. It's been a little bit of a journey, which is good, like it's enjoyable, like I like the club side of things, the party hunts. So before I was president, I was vice president, and then before that was party hunts convener, so just organising the hunts each month and that sort of thing. The most enjoyable bit is taking somebody out that's never shot a deer or has maybe shot one deer on the back of a farm or something, taking them into the actual bush and getting them to get onto a deer or even see them. I'm not successful every time I take someone out, but there's been a few occasions where we've come back and been successful, and they've got a huge grin on their face, and it's something that they'll just remember forever, and that's one of the driving factors for it.
Absolutely. So this year, post COVID, we as Hastings went over to Wanganui and went to a couple of private properties and hunted and lowered the number of fallow does over there. But what are you guys sort of what's the focus for a party hunt for you guys? What can people expect?
So we've just had one organised down at Clements Mill Road.
Yep.
And there was 26 people went on it. We also bumped, I wasn't on it, they bumped into the North Auckland branch as well at the same time, which had another 20 odd people. So there was a whole lot of people down Clements Mill Road. The majority of the hunters that went on the trip last weekend were new hunters. Like they'd either done our hunter training at our branch this year or the previous year. So a lot of them still hadn't shot deer, and there was still no deer harmed out of 26 people. But you're talking Clements Mill Road. There's plenty of animals there, but they're smart. So it's a matter of just getting them out there. And from the reports I've had, like, it's pretty impressive. These guys are now pushing quite far back. They're confident now that they've done our hunter training course and of navigation. They know where to go and what to do, and it's the main thing with it.
So what's some key skills that's instilling that confidence?
Just like a few key skills. So the hunter training that we do, it's not the hunts course. Auckland branch have got our own sort of version of it, and it's just sort of, we'll have a butchery night, we'll have a navigation night, we'll have a firearms night, a gear night. So it's just about instilling that confidence in somebody to do it. If there's somebody that's not so confident, or something like that. A few of the older guys, or even well, not older guys, but just more experienced guys, like to grab onto one of them and take them out and be like, "Come on, we're gonna go up the hill and down into the next watershed and do a bit of a circle and come back," something like that. Just
just get that time in the bush, which
it is, and it's just I mean, this is me personally. If I take somebody out that's a newbie, you try and just get them to take notice of where they are, take notice of that log they popped over or that stream they crossed, which way there's the water flowing, any landmarks. Just keep an idea of where you are, because I think a lot of people wander along and they're so overwhelmed at what they're doing and focused on looking for a deer or something. Then they turn around and go, "Oh, actually, where are we?"
Yeah.
We had an instance a year or so ago on one of our party hunts where a couple of guys got lost, and I was out until 8:30 in the morning with search and rescue, dragging them off the hill.
Oh dear.
Well, not quite dragging, but we walked them out, and everything was happy days in the end. But I think they learned a pretty hard lesson. So yeah, but it's part of it. I'm sure a lot of hunters out there have spent a night out that was unintended.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely got geographically challenged in one of my first hunts. Thankfully, it was a smallish bush block near Cambridge, and I knew that keep walking that direction, I'll find the bush edge. But you can easily panic.
Yeah, when you get a bit of rolling country or it's flattish terrain too, it can be quite hard.
Mm.
But the GPSs these days are pretty good, and
yeah,
compass. As long as you set your compass to a road or a bush edge or a river or something, you're good.
Yeah. No, that's definitely the struggle I found in the Kaimais. You're saying about the GPS is always great when you walk past that same piece of supplejack and then you look at your GPS and see, yep, I've come around in a circle
here. Yeah. It's it. You recognise those boot prints or something?
No, bloody good. And you were successful lately as well by yourself?
Yeah. So I just went down to the Central North Island with a couple of mates. We walked in for about an hour and a half, and it was actually hard work. There wasn't a lot of animals in the area, and sort of the wind was all over the show, and went through a couple of clearings in the morning and bumped a couple, and was feeling pretty dejected by the end of the day. It was about not the end of the day, maybe about 2:30, 3 o'clock, I think. I come up on that stag and just walking like old logging tracks, and decided to pop off up a spur where the wind was rushing down, and you just come across from about 10 meters away. So,
bloody good.
Yeah, it was. And then luckily my mates by that stage had enough of the day and were back at camp having a little snooze in the sun. So they came to give us a hand to carry him out. So
even better. So
yeah.
What have you done with the carcass?
So brought basically all of it out. A whole lot came out, and steaks and all that, and then a whole lot of offcuts and bits and pieces for sausages and salami.
Beautiful. And so you taking it into somewhere or doing that yourself?
Yeah. No, I usually drop it off to a butcher. I'm trying a new guy at the moment that a mate recommended. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I usually try and after a couple of deer, I'd usually just keep a black sack in the freezer with all the offcuts and whatnot, so you get a good amount to take into the butcher or home kill.
Brilliant. So, mate, for you, you're sort of running a business. You're living in the big smoke. What does it mean to catch up with a few like-minded people once a month? And if anyone sort of does live in Auckland and sort of thinks, I'd love to give this hunting a go, but I don't know where to start. I'd say to them, go down to see you guys. What can they expect from coming to see you guys?
They can expect to meet a whole lot of like-minded people there. It's almost like if you have a club night and you get to stand around and chat to people that do what you do, like hunting or fishing. Everyone is into deer stalking, obviously, but there's a lot of guys here that have.
Oh, I lost your sound.
I'm on the phone doing this. Sorry. Did that come through your end?
Yeah, we're here. We got you again.
I'll try and hang on 2 seconds. I'll try and just get rid of the sound on that. Yeah, where was I? So basically, it's almost like a mini break. You know, you go away for a weekend or something, you feel refreshed when you come back, but just going on a Tuesday night and being able to chew the fat with a bunch of blokes that like to do the same thing, or women, you know, it's good. You know, the next day you feel refreshed and like you've had a little bit of a mental break, because especially, you know, being in the big smoke and all that, it can be pretty fast. You come home and your mind's racing and all that, and sometimes just to take a step back and tell a couple of stories of a hunt a month ago, or listen to someone else talk about their hunts, it's good.
Yeah.
So I would say, you know, if you're in Auckland and you want to, you know, start to just even learn about hunting, you don't have to have your firearms license. You don't have to have a gun. You don't have to, you know everything. You're not expected to. Just come along and listen, and, you know, join up if you like. You know, the firearms license is definitely a step in the right direction. A lot of guys have joined and they haven't quite got their license through yet, so they've, you know, gone and got a bow. And one of the guys recently, new member. Sorry, mate, you're gonna have
It's
to cut some of
hilarious.
this out.
That's good.
I don't know how to stop it. Yeah, so basically, where am I going?
Someone got a bow, mate.
Yeah, they got a bow. That's right. And he went out once with it, wasn't successful. The second time out, he shot a deer with a bow, and he had never shot a deer before. It's pretty amazing. So yeah, it was pretty good. So yeah, you don't have to be, you know, like, you don't have to know everything or feel like, you know, you've got to come up with all the answers. Just turn up and say good day to someone, and they'll probably say good day back, and, you know, you might end up making a few friends.
Yeah, and more than likely they'll send you in the right direction of the place to go that you didn't realise there was deer inside.
That's it. A lot of the times, you know, you just be chatting to someone and they'll be like, oh, you know, pop up over here or pop up over there, and you end up finding one of the spots that you keep for life. One of my first spots, and it's a go-to spot of mine still. You know, like there was a guy in the club, and we were always talking about a spot, and I sort of had the feeling it was in the same area, and we'd talked to each other about it for years. And after about 2 or 3 years, I was sort of like, "Is this spot right here?" And he was like, "Yeah." You know, so it was quite funny. We're like sort of both on the same little honey hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just get to meet all sorts of people, and you know, a lot of my mates now I've met through the NZDA, and yeah, it's a good place to start.
That's right. So I mean, obviously earlier in the year there was COVID and there was a bit of a break, and the tar jam happened down in Lake Tekapo. And what sort of motivated you to get on board and say as a city? Because how I think the impact, especially coming up Queen Street and going over the Harbour Bridge, that was pretty amazing. And like, no one wanted to pick it up on the news, which was a bit of a shame. But in terms of making a stand and doing something and you know, making people ask a question, it was pretty awesome. Where did you sort of get the motivation to go, look, you know, we need to stand up for this too?
Yeah, I saw the South Island one, and I thought, far out, that's awesome that hunters have come together and done something like that. And it was a couple of nights later, I sort of just thought, well, let's do an Auckland one. So I started the ball rolling, and it was interesting. Well, organising it was full on, you know, like it just consumed me for about 3 or 4 weeks before it actually happened.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that goes into it. You wouldn't think it. You'd think it send out a Facebook message and it just happens, but it doesn't, you know. I mean, I haven't hunted tar a lot. I've shot 2 tar in 2 trips, and that's it. But I just saw the need for it, because we've got this nationwide deer control plan that's coming up as well. It's on DOC's agenda. It's been in their minutes since June. and they'll start with tar, and then it'll move on to other big game species, and that's basically what this deer control plan is saying. So I saw the need for hunters to stand up and sort of unite, because I suppose as hunters we're quite solitary creatures. We're not into making a big hoo-ha and fuss. We're more likely to just shake our heads and walk the other way and just accept it.
Yeah.
It's just, I suppose, a type of people that hunting attracts. Not that that's a bad thing,
Yeah.
usually good buggers, but I just saw the need to make a bit of noise and thought, well, we've got the perfect platform here. I know that the one down south was backed by a lot of NZDA members, and I had a few contacts up here, and a few people in the club helped out massively with organising it. I just spoke on the day and sort of rallied the troops a bit, really. It was a shame that the media didn't cover it. We did time it perfectly for, I think it was Labour's AGM or something they were having at the town hall, and we all went past tooting our horns. So I suppose you were in that queue somewhere.
Yeah, I was down the road right behind a group of motorbikes, and they were giving it hell up Queen Street. It was so loud. My daughter was in the back, and she'd slept from the Western Motorway across the Harbour Bridge and back, and sort of once we're up Queen Street and these motorbikes were ripping it, she woke up and was just like, what is
that? Yeah. So, I mean, that was good. I mean, I was at the very front of the queue. I'd sort of liaised with the cops up until the day, and they were actually really good to deal with. They just made it easy.
Yeah. And whose idea was it to get the lights running like that? That's pretty fantastic.
with the police?
Yeah.
I basically had to give them a route plan, and they had officers stationed at different sets of lights and all that, and just they basically stopped traffic, which was good.
What was their feedback in order to do that? Why did they think it'd be more efficient to just leave everyone bowl on through?
If they let everyone bowl on through, I think it would have been absolute chaos and probably a lot more dangerous.
Yeah.
So they're happy to work with people that are protesting, and I actually had to meet with a guy, detective or somebody that deals with the protests. Everybody that has a protest, should contact this guy, and he has a meeting with them about what they're going to do or this and that. So I had a meeting with him to tell him sort of what our plan was, what it was all about, where we're going to go, what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Police are really good. Auckland Council were quite hard. But, that's typical Auckland Council. They're always hard with anything. I deal with them day to day with work. So it was too hard to move some bollards at the Auckland Domain. So everyone just drove on the grass, but that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. It was good. There was a good turnout. I think there was a couple of hundred cars turn up. And yeah, it was great to see, some social influences there too that were just, there to support, whether they spoke or not. It was just good to see them up and supporting and making the effort.
Yeah. That's good. And so you brought up the sort of idea of social influence, and many of them are sort of getting involved with the NZDA. Why is now the time right? I've sort of been thinking that there's a bit of a renaissance of the organisation over the last couple of years. I've mentioned that on a few conversations I've had, but there's a new website coming out. I know in our club there's always been a gripe about trying to be a member is the hardest part, but now with the new website and things like that, that's much more streamlined. So it's even easier to find the location near to you.
I think it's got to do with the people that are becoming involved, and even just the people that are becoming involved at club level.
Yeah.
Like I said, for a lot of years, it's been a bit of an old boys club. And it's sort of just, people that see the need for a voice in New Zealand have, throughout the whole country at club level, have been getting involved, like our CEO, Gwyn, he's like fantastic. He's probably the, best person we could have asked to be in that role right now.
Yeah.
We've got other guys like Dan Friedman, who's in the Auckland branch. He was on the committee a year before me. and I suppose it's just having that vision of what's to come, and that there has to be a bit of a succession plan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think what you've seen the last couple of years is a bit of a trickle through from that, but hopefully now that's going to be seen tenfold,
Yeah.
because now these guys that were there a number of years ago are getting into the sort of executives of the club and on the national board and bits and pieces, and we can start to make some real change.
Yeah.
And hopefully just be able to like sort of represent the modern hunter really.
Yeah.
And what
Well, one of the things Morgan sort of said, who's our rep with you on the North Island,
yeah
was
yep
that it wasn't or who wants to be on NATEX, the national executive. It was, we've got all these people, speak your piece and let's have a vote. Like, it must be
yep
pretty exciting to see that a lot of people are quite motivated to be part of the national executive. Thankless
It
role.
is. I mean, this year was actually the first year that the roles were contested.
Wow.
Since I can remember. I'm sure back in 1940 they were contested, but since I can remember, this is the first year that they've had more than one person go for each role. So it's good that people can see it as important. Yeah.
Yeah. And how did the national executives kind of come on your radar? Was it were you pushed or shoulder tapped or?
It's sort of just been a discussion.
Yeah.
It's just been a discussion at conferences mainly, and the only time you get to see the other clubs is conference.
Yeah.
Apart from like you have your regional meetings. So we recently had a regional meeting in Thames, which was good to catch up with everyone. But the national exec, I suppose, it was just you see what's going on at conference, and it just made me want to get involved, to help out and do my bit and give my 2 cents, and hopefully it makes the association slightly better and can hand it on to the next person eventually.
Yeah. Well, I guess for me, like you brought up the deer control plan sort of stuff going on, and it's almost like being part of NZDA, going along to meetings, getting involved in the executive means that you can start to front foot things, and you can start to have an educated position on what goes on in the world. And so instead of being reactive and emotional about it, you can already sort of fragment your argument and hear their side of the story. And like you say, you hear about things in minutes and you go, well, what's that about? You can look deeper into it, and you're not sort of in shock chasing your tail. Is that just keep escalating up the more and more you get sort of into the political side of things and the information side of things?
It does. It's hard here. You try not to get too overwhelmed with a lot of it, because there's a lot of information to take in. You've got to sort of keep your head straight on what's, I suppose, happening, like what the main point is, because you can get sidetracked on every little offshoot possible. Yep. I think the main one, especially with the deer control plan, it starts with the branches of the NZDA and us and the national executive engaging with them and creating, like branches in certain areas where there are, specific herds of interest.
Yeah.
And having probably a rep at those branches. I mean, there's a lot of people in, that travel to hunt. So their information, the information that's in their heads is valuable. So it's a matter of the national executive sort of coming to the branches saying, hey, we want to rep, and then those branches coming back and actually communicating meaningfully with us.
Yeah.
Meaningful communication, so that we can then go back to the likes of Doc and even the conservation minister, is probably one of the most important things. So we're getting that that information on that specific herd that's in that area that's about to be culled, or which I think they're starting with the East Coast, the North Island. It's the first port of call. Which, I think it's Curry Allen, our conservation minister, where she's from, and hopefully she listens to a bit of that, and she's from the area, from a rural area. I'd hope she'd understand the meaning of being able to go out into the bush and harvest some food, and the meaning of sort of having a sustainable resource,
Yeah.
rather than just kill it all and have lots of trees, which is sort of where the last conservation minister was going with it, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I've been quietly optimistic with Kitty. I've seen a number of people engage with her. I've tried to bring her attention to the odd thing which hasn't worked, but you got to keep trying these things and
Yeah,
engage thoughtfully.
exactly. I mean, becoming the conservation minister, I think would mean her plate's probably gone from a relatively small one to a huge one.
Yeah.
So there'd be a lot to be thinking about for her at this stage, and no doubt she's got a lot to in front of her. But hopefully, at some stage we get to get in front of her and have our say. I know Gwyn down in Wellington, he's organised, I think it's 30 minutes a month in front of the Act caucus.
Uh-huh.
So they get to listen to us and then take our views into Parliament, which is, I think, the first time ever that's happened with the NZDA in 70 odd years.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really important, getting that voice out there, having people like Nicole McKee in there at the moment.
Is she a member of NZDA?
She is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. She's a member. Yep. She knows what she's talking about, and having that sort of representation at Parliament level's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm just saying about the East Coast, I know Hamilton Gibson, he's sort of got a foot in each camp, and so hopefully he can communicate the conservation and communicate the hunter's worth, and like you said, the food and gathering aspect of things is high on his list of priorities. So yeah, it's about that open conversation, getting some win-win situations, as Kim Speedy was talking about in that Seeker Foundation video that's doing the rounds. And yeah, hopefully we can all win.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, there's a food and gathering side of it. There's also people's sort of livelihoods, that come from it now,
Yes.
which a lot of them could probably, you could do with managing the herd rather than completely obliterating it, So that's why it needs to be, we need proper consultation.
Yes.
With local people about exactly what's going on in that area. Is there a problem with it? Could we get a bit of science behind it?
Yeah.
Would be great. Just something that's non-biased to say, yeah, look, this area's got way too many deer, or actually there's not a lot here. Let's go and focus our resources over there.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of things that are sort of at the back of my mind. Even in terms of what the Wapiti Foundation's done with actually using that meat, that comes off the hill. Like if there is going to be a huge cull or something, I think that even to save base a bit for dock, they should be looking at bringing some of it off the hill. There's a few rules and regulations around it, but just make it happen. There's such a huge budget. Why not put some of it back into the local communities or the country? People that need it.
Yeah.
So
So you organised some of that meat to come to Auckland, that's right?
Yeah. So sort of a roundabout way, I got in contact with Roy Sloan, who's the president of the Wapiti Foundation, and we managed to get 3 ton of venison mince to Auckland, and that went to a company called the Food Network, and they were only established in March. But they're huge. They get basically all the unwanted food stuff that's still good, and they basically make up food packages and send it around the whole country.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've just started sort of following along a group on Instagram called Meet the Need. It's that I think they were involved with some of the early distribution of that Wapiti mince out around the country as well.
So they're like, I'm not sure if umbrella's the right word, but I know they have quite a bit to do with with the Food Network.
Right.
I got in contact with one of their guys. Actually, I can't remember his name now, and he put me onto the Food Network because they were sort of like the bigger organisation that could then distribute the mints to the likes of Meet the Need and things like that.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure I'm right on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And so you said there, you guys sort of had this, North Island representatives, regional representatives, branch representatives. What do you, as Auckland, what do you guys sort of see your hunting zone to be? Like you're saying, two branches from Auckland down at Clements Mill. When you look at this, and you said Hunters Travel, when you look at the Seeker Foundation, do you guys up there in Auckland kind of think, we want to see to the table of that because that's really meaningful to our hunting?
I wouldn't say seat at the table, but we definitely have a couple of people that could weigh in on what's going on down there.
Yeah.
Because most of our hunting is central North Island. You've got the kaimais and things like that, but that's a weekender or a day trip or something, 2.5 hours. If you're keen, you get up early and go and do it and then come back. It's a big day, but the Seeker Foundation is probably the one to be commenting on a lot of that area. But in terms of having a rep from an NZDA club, like say if Auckland had a rep, there'd be plenty of people that could weigh in on the state of the herd down there. But then you've got to compete with the likes of people like Cam Speedy and things like that, which are just absolute ninjas at it. He knows more than probably anybody about what's going on. So
yeah, because it's not so much I'm trying to say that the likes of us over here in Hastings or even the guys in Napier, and you up there in Auckland and teams in North Auckland, like you said, it's not that we like want to run the thing, but it's also in the same context. It's where we place the most meaningful in terms of our sort of, that's our hunting zone. That's the thing that we want to look after. Tell us what to do, type thing. I don't know if I can get my words across properly around this, but it's when I lived in Cambridge, I hunted kaimais quite a lot, and I just felt like it was me in there, and that was just like you say, the place you visit for an overnight or whatever.
Yep.
But coming to the Kawika, even the Rohini, and sort of having those conversations with Cam, hearing him talk, hearing his network with iwi and their contribution to things over on the Taupo side, I myself have found myself looking at the Kawika, I've looked into Ngāti Kahungunu, see what their history is and things like that, and really looked at the different pockets of bush. I've got involved with one of the trapping loops there in the Kawikas because it just seems like this massive cause to save an area and ecology, and at the same time have an amazing hunting resource. And having read Alex Gale's The Seeker Hunters this year and Bruce Bramwell's The Seeker, I'm just kind of like, wow, this thing is significant, has the potential to be an amazing trophy, and by all accounts, it's an amazing hunt. How do we get those win-win-wins? And for me, the passion to come across and say, how can I help? I think there must be surely plenty of people up in Auckland that, that's a significant drive to go and hunt a beautiful animal in a beautiful area and want to preserve it.
It is, and it's sort of, we've got, the Seeker Foundation and the TAR Foundation and things like that, and they're probably the best to be speaking on these subjects. But the NZDA, I suppose, would like to have people weigh in on it too, because, like you say, there's a lot of people out there with a lot of knowledge, and it's just about having somebody there. I mean, we're going to, hopefully NZDA will be able to speak to the powers that be and see if we can make a bit of a difference or have a bit of sway on how they operate with their operations, whether it be like culling at a chopper or aerial poisoning or something like that. But we're always fighting that battle, I suppose, especially with the aerial poisoning. Yeah, it's just something we need to. Hopefully, that we will start to be listened to on.
Yeah, and almost like don't want to come across as sort of tribal. And I think one of the best resources that's on that on the Seeker Foundation is the reporting your hunt and the hindsight as well. But like the reporting of your hunt is sponsored by SCI Safari Club International, and but like what a great tool. And so that's what I mean by don't get tribal. Don't think it's not an NZDA thing. I'm not going to record my hunt. Like there's we can all be integrated as hunters, and that's some of the conversations that we've had of late with us at Hastings. Like we had Justin Amor, who started up the Tarara Foundation to do some trapping, hunter-led trapping and things in there, and he's a keen NZDA supporter as well. And that was one of the conversations. Is so, well, how do we integrate this? We've got this pre-made group of people that are passionate about hunting, passionate about the area. How do we mobilize that? And because what these foundations are doing is fantastic. They're taking a real specific niche and often in a specific area. And that's what I mean by being able to put our hand up and being able to contribute, because we don't want to be forgotten about. We're the people that are using that resource, and we want to give back to that resource, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, we are definitely. It's people that are even just specific to a small catchment of an area, that hunt it well. Like a couple of the areas that I would hunt. You know them like the back of your hand. I've got game cameras in there. The family groups are hinds that are kicking about, and you say, oh, that one had 2 fawns this year. That's good, or that one's barren, or that stag's gone backwards a bit. You get to see the effects on the animals. When you are in an area like that, you really get to know it well, and that's the thing that's important to get across. And it's, I suppose, getting the science behind it and telling people, why don't you go and research this gully and see what they get out of it. But I think it's the main thing is getting somebody that's independent, and it's not a doc study, it's not an NZDA study, it's somebody that's in the middle, and they're just going to go and give you a fair answer at the end of the day. Because if either side gives their scientific study, it's just always going to be questioned by the other. So how we do that, I'm not sure.
Well, this is the sort of conversations I've been having with Francesco from Altitude and Trails. He's out here in New Zealand at the moment, and he's just crying out to connect with some academic people around hunting and wild animal health and stuff. He comes from the privileged position of Italy, where what did he say? Something like 400 autopsies of wild animals. And it's just like, why can't we have there? And of course, the latest star data came out the other day, and he was on the maps and looking at the numbers killed, and just a bit like him, I was sharing his sentiments. It's like that is so much data that's just gone to waste and left on a hill to rot. We could have, what was it, 7,500 animals shot dead. Some of those circles were groups greater than 20 and left. No, we don't know anything about them, just that they're dead.
Yeah. It's not the right. It was rushed, is what it was, which is a bit of a shame. It was just rushed. So it was a last ditch effort. I hate to say it, by somebody that just wanted to push their personal agenda. Is my opinion on it.
Yeah, and that's where I hope, and there's plenty of people asking, what happened to the donations, and of course the answer to that is it went to a court case to try and
there's been thousands and thousands of dollars spent on court cases basically, and anyone that donated, that's where your money's gone. It's been spent wisely. You've had good people at the table, in the courtrooms, backing them on behalf of the TAR Foundation. So it's been
and
money
I
well
think
spent so far, because we're sort of we sort of do have the upper hand a little bit, as hunters. We had a relatively good result from the last court case. So
yeah, and I think that is what we're going to see play out. Is I think it's this week or next week that the next planning is going to happen, and that's going to be in consultation. Like it's kind of meant that, hey, if anything goes ahead, the consultation process has to bloody happen. And I'd imagine that these last 3 years, whilst being brutal and hard work and a lot of disappointments have been involved, there would have been some gigantic learnings. To draw an analogy on the All Blacks sort of couple of weeks to how they showed up on Saturday. It still wasn't perfect, but it was a heck of a lot better, and a lot of things got implemented in different ways and changed tack, and that's the sort of stuff that you're probably going to start to see. And as we know, with the new minister, probably some similar influences going on, but new open mind, new engagement, new set of eyes, younger person, hopefully open-minded. We will continue to see the benefit of what was put in from that court case. Now, plenty of people can argue that not a lot came from that money, but it's allowed for things to happen.
Definitely. It's something that we need to focus on and just band together as hunters, really, to have our say and be heard, really. And the NZDA is the perfect platform for that. So the best, like if you're a hunter sitting at home and you're not a member of an association, just get along and join up. Go and if you want to actually be heard, join your local club and take it from there. Or there's the different foundations around the place as well that you can donate to. So,
and so Gwynn's obviously been hosting the Game Animal Council a bit at Deerstalkers House. What's sort of been the relationship going on there since the NZDA AGM?
I don't want to speak too much on his behalf, but I know there's been a few meetings there, and the relationship is good as far as the reports I've heard. I met Tim Gale a few weeks ago. He came to Auckland and we just caught up at lunch for an hour. And I mean, the relationship's good, and the Game Animal Council are, they're there and they're chipping away at it. They're doing what they're there for. So I think we can really ask for more there. But it's sort of the start of it. There's a lot of things changing in the hunting scene throughout the whole country. So it's the start of hopefully a big change moving forward. Give it a couple of years and you should start to see the wheels really start churning. In terms of just hunting in New Zealand and specifically the NZDA. We should see a bit more representation and a bit more movement and a bit more voice.
No, it was pretty special getting the name brought up in question time and things like that in Parliament while the Tākau was going on. So I think, as you say, Gwynn's sitting down with ACT every now and again to, people like Nicole to voice that opinion and get it across again inside the house is going to be absolutely fantastic. Mate, I said to you when I posted that I got the T-shirt that everyone wants one. And of course the bumper stickers. What's gonna play out, man? Put them out in the ministry. It was. I got a flood of messages.
just behind me, right behind my computer screen right now, I've got a huge pack that I'm sending out just to all the different branches. So I sent obviously a whole lot of people T-shirts and stickers like yourself to start with. Sending out to tomorrow. They'll be getting picked up, all the T-shirts and bumper stickers for the branches, and we've just sorted out our online shop on the national website, so you can go on and buy a black or a white NZDA T-shirt in women's or men's cut very soon. So that should be live within sort of the next week or so. So they'll be on the online shop, and I had the link somewhere, but basically www.deerstalkers.org.nz.
Nice, and that's been revamped.
What's that?
NZDeerstalkers.org's been revamped.
It has. It's been revamped. It's an all new sort of website, which is either live now or will be live in the next few days. So it's all sort of happening at the same time. The stickers will be on there for sale as well. There will be a little bit of a wait just while we sort of streamline our process. But we'll basically be taking orders and then sending them out in batches.
Yeah.
It's just, we're all volunteers, so we've got a lot of we've got to do our actual jobs and then do what we're doing with the NZDA stuff, which we probably put just as much time into that as we do our jobs. But yeah, so there'll be a little bit of a wait. So order them. Like I was saying now, you won't have them in time for Christmas, but you'll have them just after. To be blatantly honest, yeah.
Mate, not that you're trying to find a new job, but you can add logistics specialist to your CV now.
Oh, I reckon. Yeah, I reckon.
Between organising a protest and sending out merchandise and swag, geez, man, you reckon up some skills. If anyone wants skills, join NZDA.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, you get skills left, right, and centre. Definitely, you sort of have to turn your hand to anything. But it's enjoyable. You get to see like all the different social media posts that are going up and people in their t-shirts, and it's good. It's raising awareness, and the national office is having a lot of inquiries. Auckland branch at the moment, we're having a lot of inquiries, but we have been for a long time. I think our record on a club night is 30 new members.
Wow.
Signed up for one club night. We usually have a waiting list of around 50 to 100 and something, depending on what. Obviously, a lot of them have sort of gone through the process and don't follow through, but most of the time we get, at least 10 people signing up on a club night recently, which is good. We're the biggest city in the country. There's a lot less hunters than anywhere else per head, but it's just a matter of getting people up here into it and in an environment where they can feel like they can ask the right questions and go out there and do the right thing, hunt ethically, and they know their way around the bush, and they've got people to bounce ideas off, and they get the right idea.
Yeah, mate. Any word on when you guys are going to hold a competition shoot?
There is a range calendar out, and forgive me, but I'm not too familiar with it right now. There should be an updated one in February, I think.
Yeah.
As in a competition shoot at our range.
Yeah.
Is that what you're sort of going down the lines of? Yeah, there's nothing planned right now. As far as I'm aware, I haven't got too much to do with the range. I'm more, you can only spread yourself so thin on things. Yeah.
Because you guys invited me up last year and I couldn't come, unfortunately, but you had to hell of prizes.
I think that was a Steiner shoot.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that was a prize shoot. So that's once a year, basically on the same day.
Yeah.
And it should be in the range calendar, which is on our website, which is deerstalkers.co.nz is the Auckland branch.
Right.
Yep. So that range calendar gets updated every few months. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you guys as a club are running the website and interacting on there that people can get lots of information if they're in Auckland?
Yep. So if they're in Auckland, it's got our address. You can go online. You can sign up online, and then all you have to do is come and meet one of the committee members. So you've got to show up at the club. Occasionally, we'll meet people, during the day or after hours if they're struggling to get to a club night, because once a month on a Tuesday night can be challenging, especially if you're working and you've got a family and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
No, bloody awesome. Well, Callum, what would you reckon you hope for hunters and the hunting community in NZDA for the next sort of year or so?
Or the next year or so, I mean, I sort of look at where we're going with things as it's a bit of a slow burn. It's not going to happen overnight,
Yeah.
But I hopefully that NZDA can sort of grow, have a bit more of a voice, and just a bit more sort of a sustainable hunting resource would be good to see.
Yep.
Something in place that doesn't, take away too many of our freedoms, because it's great to be able to get in your car, park at the side of the road and walk into the bush. But also something that's a bit more sort of, managed. A game resource that's a bit more managed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
So,
And bit of science and knowledge around things wouldn't go astray either.
no, no. And there's a lot we can take from overseas hunting and stuff. Might not need to be that strict, but there's a lot of ideas we can sort of take around from that. Yeah, it's good. It's an exciting thing to be involved with, and we'll see where we go with it. Really,
Yeah.
still all the other stuff that life throws at you. There's, like I say, it's a bit of a slow burn. So hopefully, as an association, we can get there.
Take it forward.
Yeah. I suppose you guys, have you been to a conference before?
No, I dropped off two of our heads to Hamilton. I was passing on through, and of course they were quite successful. So as a club, we've been pretty stoked with things. That's who I managed to be on the club hunt with, was those two gentlemen. So I was all ears around the fire. We weren't sort of campfire. We were in a house, but it was a fire on, and these two guys had a very successful post-COVID and magnificent red and magnificent Seeker. And it was quite interesting for us as a club. Hawke's Bay and Hastings wise, we'd scored them the other way around, but at National, the Seeker head won out. And so that was...
Oh, nice.
I didn't go to a conference, no, but got to interact with a couple of the Hamilton people while I was there. And yeah.
Well, the competitions, I think, at conference are really cool, because you get to see what is coming in from around the country, and it would be good to get a bit more involvement in them.
Yep.
Because you get a lot more heads sort of entered in things like the Seeker Show, and I think a lot of people don't know what's offered at the NZDA in terms of the party hunts and the competitions and bits and pieces. It's just they maybe don't know about it so much.
Yeah, a lot of people sort of are taking the perspective that it's a place to go have a beer. And what did somebody say the other day? I went 20 years ago and showed up and had a beer and talked ballistics, and I'm not really into ballistics, so I never went back. And that was a shame.
Yeah. Well, it's you sometimes, it depends who you speak to, I guess, and what the subject is at the time. And you can go to someone and talk about game fishing all night, or you can talk about fly fishing, or ballistics, or hunting, or what you could go and actually talk shop about your job, if whatever you do. It's just depends on who you get to chat to at the night. At the moment, we get about 60 or 80 members on a club night there. So
wow.
There's a good sort of have a chat to, sometimes more. And there's a bar and steak sandwiches and bits and pieces. So it's a good evening there. But I've been there before, and like you just get chatting to someone and you'll be talking about the snapper and the Hauraki Gulf or something like that. Yeah,
we had one night there where we were talking about trying to catch the salmon in the canals in Twizel. That's a long way from Hastings, and then it was often sheep farming comes up, and you've got the odd person in logistics like Morgan trying to get fruit around the world. There's all types of things that they can go down in a Deerstalkers meeting.
Yeah, that's it. You find things that you can catch up with other people on too. There's a guy from the club. I'm going to head down Central North Island over New Year's and do a bit of fly fishing. Take my young fella and see how he caught his first trout when he was 2 on a fly. So that was
wow.
I was taking a bit of weight of the rod, and it was on an indicator. It just sort of bobbed under. And I said, you better wind it in, and luckily it was only like a sort of a half pounder. And but he's stoked. He's been sort of just starting to talk, and he's been talking about it ever since. So he's 4 this year, so he'll be into it, I'm sure, and he's looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So it's you just, there's a whole lot more to it than just deer hunting.
Yeah, and I think that you just brought up a good topic there, that it's generational as well. It's not just about preserving your hunting excess and sort of that. It's allowing a position for everyone in the country and for time to come, that they too can go out and, like you say, drive to the road edge and walk into the bush and at least see sign or whatever.
That's it. Like we are lucky to be where we are, and my old man, he's originally from Scotland, and he came here right into his fly fishing, and sort of found this little spot down in central North Island, and I've been there. There's photos of me when I'm 2 holding a trout that's the same size of me, and that's sort of the same I want for my kids, to do the same thing. Be able to go to that place and know it well, and whether they choose to fish or hunt, or even if they don't like that, it's up to them. But just, I suppose, expose them to a bit of that, and what the backcountry is. It might even just, I'm not really into tramping because I generally don't walk anywhere if there's not hunting or fishing at the end of it. But if it opens their eyes to something that they enjoy in the backcountry, it's I think important to have a bit of that, and it's the same old story. They shouldn't be home sitting on the games or doing whatever. They should be out doing something else.
That's right.
Although growing up in Auckland, I was lucky enough to grow up out west. So my parents are right on the Manukau Harbour, so I had all sort of the west coast there to run around, and a bit of the Waitaks, the bush, although no deer in it, but it still gives you that sense of the outdoors, and somewhere like right on your doorstep to just go and see it, really. And whenever I could, it was just it was down to the central North Island and chasing trout, or later on deer now. So
wicked, man.
Yeah,
I think that's probably a story for myself as well. I asked my dad, I said, why did you never go hunting or deer stalking? And I'm a big fan of what happened with the deer wars and the start of the deer industry, but for him, it meant being in a place like Waikaia, which again is rough with deer, and same for my grandpa growing up, they used to go check crops or whatever, and sure enough, there'd be a mob of deer that they'd chase up into the hill and get one or two. But for him, no deer at that period of time when they were all being taken off the hill. And I guess it's kind of like trying to find that balance of outdoors access, and then looking after the trees is what we're all sort of gunning for, and that's where we've come to as a country, and we want to be part of it.
Yeah. It's about finding that balance. I think definitely the 70s was probably a bit of a crap time to be a hunter, and so it's finding that balance of having something that's sustainable where you can go and get a bit of food, where you can go and find a nice trophy, and not have them, running around the hillside like fleas. It's you need that balance, because if there's no sustainable environment for them to thrive in, you're not going to have that resource for much longer, because they'll just eventually start dying out themselves.
Nice.
One of those things, and it's just something that we need to work towards, I guess.
Couldn't agree more, mate. Well, it's Monday night, start of the week. Brilliant.
Yep.
Where do people find you specifically, man?
Oh, me specifically, I'm just I'll be at the Deerstalkers club nights.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, I'm just what's my handle? I think it's Sheridan Callum on Instagram. And that's basically me.
Brilliant. So, I mean, you're a businessman, you're a leader, your father. What's sort of some things that show up in your own life that, when things go well, or something that you try and live by and pursue those great feats?
I'm a big believer in just doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Just being completely straight up, like straight up onto it. Just do it now is another good one.
Yeah.
If you've got something in your head that you want to do it now. It's just
I like it.
That's basically it. Do what you say you're going to do, and being straight up and transparent is a good one. Just
Brilliant, man. And keep that beard on.
It's like you say, it's Monday night. I'm slightly tired, but that's it.
Got to be done. Mate, how long have you had that beard for? Because it's bloody outstanding.
Maybe about 9 months.
Yeah.
We're 9 months here.
Love it. Is there any sort of grooming or product into that, or it's just growth?
Oh, just a bit of beard oil every now and again, but not over time. A slight trim the sides out, because otherwise it goes absolutely haywire. But yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any recommendations for your beard oil?
No, but I know you have.
No, I haven't. Not a pirate, of course. I'd need to try some of that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
It's what's his name? The bearded entrepreneur. He's got a
Yeah.
black something.
I can't even actually remember. I have got a thing of beard oil somewhere. I can't even remember the brand, to be honest.
Just
It's
slap it
been
in
there for
when you
so long.
remember.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome, mate. Well, people will hear this tomorrow, and thank you
Right.
so much for giving up your time on a Monday night. We've sort of been going back and forward and trying to get this done, so fantastic, and it's good good timing with, as you said, they might not get them by Christmas, but they can at least order those fantastic T-shirts, and they know where to find them now.
Yeah. Order them and they will turn up. I can promise that.
Awesome, bro. I'm going to press stop on that, and that was fantastic. Cheers.
Cool. Cheers.